What you're about to watch is a live training we do on our school community as part of the premium package. We do these trainings about twice a week, so if you want to be part of this training, if you want to be in a community of sales professionals that are trying to break into the top 5 of their industry, click on the school link down in the description below, sign up for premium access. Right now, it is $39 a month. It is going to jump up to $99 a month very soon. So go ahead, go down to the link below, click on the school community, and get signed up today. Please like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. I'd really appreciate it. Without further ado, here's the video. I want everyone to kind of sit down for a second and to really think about something that I think is important. If you are an independent sales rep, you work for a company, you get paid commission, or if you're a business owner like Alex, I want you to think about for your average sale, not your premium sale, not your lowest sale, but like an average standard sale, I want you to think of the commission number. I want you to think of how much commission you would make. If you make an average sale, what is that number? And when you think of it, if you have the ability, I'd love for you to leave it in the chat. Okay? So if you're thinking on that number, what is that number? The reality is in sales and in business, our commission and our revenue is the bridge between the life we have now and the life that we want to have, right? I like to say that money is a tool. It's not a destination. There's somewhere you want to go, whether it's getting a new house, right? Whether it's buying a new car, whether it's going on vacation, whether it's helping your mother who's sick, whatever that is, right? I want you to think of that, okay? Do you think that if you get better at handling objections, will your close rate improve? Would you think that if you got better at handling objections, do you think it could improve by 5%? Do you think it could improve by 10%? Do you think it could improve by 20%? While it's hard to kind of tell exactly based on data, general Google and AI kind of suggests that if you learn how to handle objections, your close rate can improve anywhere from 30 to 65%. Now think about that for a second. Let's say that you close 5 deals a month and your average commission or your average revenue per deal close is $1,000, right? That's about $60,000 a year, okay? If you can close at, let's say 45%. Let's use that as a kind of a good middle number, right? If you can close 45% more deals, that takes your closing average from 5 deals a month to 7 deals a month. Or even if it's 30, it'll be about 6. That's roughly about $18K more in commission and revenue at the end of the year. So if I were to ask you a question, if I was going to give you $18K, but you had to give me money back, right? You had to pay me, would you pay me $5,000 to give you $18K? Would you do that? Right? Alex has got his thumb up. Would you pay me $4,000? Would you pay me $3,000? Would you pay me $2,000? Would you pay me $1,000? Would you pay me $1? Of course, we all would. I'm delivering this talk on objections to you for free because that's the amount of value I want to give you. I want to give you so much value on this call that you can walk away with a framework on how to handle objections. So this is my gift to you. Again, I'm giving you guys anywhere from $5,000 to $60,000, depending upon what you sell. So to begin, just kind of want to give that framework so everybody understands the value of what we're talking about. So the goal of our talk today is to give you guys a simple plan to handle objections the next time they come up, right? Objections are not something to fear. That's the first point. Point 2 is that most objections can be handled by a 4-step process. And we'll talk through the process. And then lastly, you have to know when it's time to walk away to fight another day. When is it time to just, I don't want to say give up, to retreat? Because we never give up, but we can retreat. And we'll talk about tactics of retreat as well. So without further ado, have you ever been on a sales call where things were just going like incredibly well, and you were in rapport with the prospect. They were answering your discovery questions, and as you were going through your pitch, you could see them like nodding their head, going, yeah, that sounds awesome. That's great. But then suddenly a feeling of anxiety starts to turn up inside of you, and you're coming to the end of your pitch, and little by little your anxiety starts to grow because you're about to do something. You're about to ask for the sale, and as your pitch ends, you start to stutter and clear your throat, and then you say, hey, so with that said, the price is $2,000. How do you want to make payment? And here it comes, right? The thing you fear most, the thing that you believe is costing you all the sales in your career, the objections. They're going to say, that's too expensive. I need to think about it. I have to talk to my spouse. You're more expensive than our current vendor. And all of a sudden, all the swagger, all the confidence that you had is gone. And the anxiety that you felt in your stomach that moved to your chest is in your throat, and you're choking. Give me a like if you've had that experience. Alex has got his thumbs up. Patrick's giving me a like. Let me ask you a question. What if we're wrong, right? What if objections aren't obstacles, but are actually opportunities? What if the thing that we think is a sales stopper is actually a sales winner? See, like what I have learned in my career is that rather than looking at objections as roadblocks, I see them as shortcuts. Because when a prospect objects, they're not saying no. They're saying, here's my problem. That is good. As sales professionals, and if you're an entrepreneur, you're also a sales professional, as you know, because you're the one who has to sell the business. We're supposed to be the experts in problem solving. So all the prospect is doing when they object is they're welcoming you to do the very thing that you do best. Solve the problem. Here's my problem. Solve the problem. So I want you guys to understand my approach to objections is extremely different, not because my tactics are different. My approach to objections is different because my mindset around objections is different. I don't see objection handling as a con to manipulate people into giving me something I want. Objection handling is a service to my prospect to help them get what they want. Hey, we'll get back to the video in just a second. I just want to let you know I have a 12-week sales accelerator program. If you are in virtual sales and you are trying to get into the top 5 of your industry, why don't you click the link below? It's right there in the description, right where it says click here for coaching. Set an appointment. We'll see if it's right for you. All right? Let's get back to the video. And so when you handle objections from this position, from this mindset, you go from a taker to a server. And when you are there to serve someone, you have nothing to fear. So that is crucial that your mindset is adjusted. With that said, we do have to have a framework for how to handle objections, right? And so there are really 4 steps, and you will find this in the course when you level up, and you can go through that in the closing session. Is there are really 4 steps you have to take in order to handle objection. First, you have to isolate the objection. You have to make sure that whatever objection comes up, that it is indeed the real objection and the true objection, and maybe not the only objection. You have to then seek to educate them about their options, educate them about the product maybe. Next, you have to motivate. You have to dive into those emotions. Maybe you have to dive into that fear that people have. Fear is probably a lot of the times the thing that is holding people back. And then you have to negotiate. Sometimes you got to negotiate a deal. Sometimes it's valuable. It is not devaluing your offer to negotiate, but there are ways to do it correctly and there are ways to do it wrong. Okay? So first we isolate objections. Why is that? It's because prospects tend to lie. Whether it's intentional or not, or because they don't themselves understand what's happening. When they are introduced to a problem, there's this weird feeling in their gut that sort of happens, and they can't always make sense out of why, right? And guess what? Your prospect is not a professional communicator. You are. You as a sales rep, you and I, and all of us as sales reps, we are supposed to be professional communicators, right? That's what we do all day. We talk all day. We have conversations all day. So what we need to do in isolating the objection is help the prospect give a true voice to what's really bothering them so we can, again, serve them by handling the objection. Next, we educate before we motivate. And the reason why is because I don't want to go in and give someone a motivational speech off the top, right? I don't want to just assume that it's fear. It might be something much more simple than that can be solved very easily with a little bit of conversation. But after trying to educate them about maybe their options, maybe about something about the product that covers a concern that they have, maybe about some extra auxiliary things that you offer that cover some concerns, then it's time to really move into motivation, right? Because sales are won emotionally and they're justified logically, right? And then, of course, if all that fails, negotiation. That's why we do things. So to give an example, I've kind of created a scenario, right? And to also clarify, we are going to be talking about objections that happen at the end of the call, because there are 2 points where you can get an objection. At the beginning of the call, if you're cold calling, and at the end of the call, usually after you drop a price, almost always after you ask for the sale, right? Those are really the 2 times. The reason why I'm only including objections that happen after you ask for the sale is because not all of us do cold calling. Some of us get inbound leads. Some of us do cold email. Some of us have setters that set appointments for us. So that's kind of a little bit more niche to cold callers, and we can deal with that on a different call. But we're going to focus on those objections. So I'm going to make some assumptions, right? I'm going to assume in this scenario, we're going to be selling a fitness program, right? It's $1,900 for 6 months of exercise, of training for exercises, for a nutrition plan, and then it's an additional $600 for supplements for 6 months, right? So $100 a bottle, 6 month supply, totaling at $2,500. We're going to assume that we've already made an introduction because we're talking to them. We're going to assume that we've already committed discovery. We have an understanding of their needs, their pains. We've done some consequence questions, and we've already pitched, right? And so now we've asked for the sale. And so what will they say? Almost all the time, they're going to say, that's expensive. My process for handling objections when it comes tactically is inspired by Jordan Belfort and Jeremy Minor and Matthew Ryder, right? It's very straight line looping. It's very NEPQ, and it's very solution based, right? So when I go to isolate, what I'm going to say is, hey, money aside, do you feel this program would work well for you? Right? The reason why I do that is I want to take the objection out of the conversation and isolate. I want to make sure that they believe this will work for them. Because if they say anything other than yes, there's something else going on. Because there's only 3 ways they're going to respond to this question. Yes, I think this program will work. No, I don't think this program will work. Or they'll give you another objection. They'll say, I need to talk to my wife, or I need to, or something else, right? So again, we're going to go with, they're going to say yes, because we're going to assume that we did a good job on the discovery, and we're going to assume that we did a good job on the pitch, right? Immediately after they say that, I'm going to ask why. So the framework is, money aside, do you feel this program would work for you? They say, yeah, I do. Okay, why? And now I'm going to get them to list. I want them to tell me why. People care way more about their opinion than your opinion. Remember that. They don't care. They've probably spent 20 minutes with you. They've spent a lifetime with themselves. They care about themselves more. So why is that? Well, your program, I see that you guys have helped, 7,000 people have success. And I've seen just, that I believe that I like that you guys tailored the nutrition plan to me. And so I think that those things will help me work, because I can never really stick to a program because they want me to eat dry chicken and rice. And I don't want to do that. So those are the reasons that I think I can have some of the food that I want to have. Okay. So that's good, right? That's their response. And then we can go into educating, right? We can educate them again on their options, right? We can say something like, hey, listen, so I gotcha. So if we were to give you an installment program where you can pay every month up to the 6 months until we're done, totaling your pay to the $2,500, so instead of paying maybe the $2,500 upfront, we can do about $416 a month. Does that help? What I've done now is I've educated them that we do have an installment program, right? And we do have an option for them to make payments, right? I'm reframing them from thinking about the big number and I'm biting it down. And then they might say yes. And they say yes, cool. How do you want to give us payment? They take wire, we take credit card, whatever, right? They might still push though. They might say, yeah, but 416, that's still a lot of money. I'm not going to move to motivation yet. I'm still going to stay in education. Sometimes for your prospects, you have to do the basic math. Whenever you have a big number, the more you can bite it down into a smaller number, the easier it is, right? So the way I would respond to this, if they say, yeah, that payment plan would help, but 416, that's still a lot. That's still a lot of money for me. This is how I would respond. In some circumstances, I would actually agree with you. We'll call him Bill. Hey, Bill, yeah, in some circumstances, I would agree. But when you break it down monthly, it's about $13.70 per day, right? Now, remember that our goal here, you mentioned you want to lose 100 pounds. That means we're going to be making some life changes. We're going to be lowering your caloric deficit. So you're not going to be going to McDonald's every day and ordering Domino's every month. That should open up your budget to afford this. Wouldn't you agree? See, what I've just done is I've reframed it, right? He's looking at $416. That's the problem. But now I'm belittling the problem. Because mind you, I've delivered pizzas, right? I've delivered Domino's. I can definitely testify to you that there are people, I'm not joking, that order Domino's every single day by delivery. There was a lady that I used to deliver Domino's pizza to. She literally lived 5 minutes from Domino's. She could have driven. She would have rather have spent, though, the extra $10 for tip and $25 for the pizza. And she was doing that 4 times a week. And when you do that math, that's $120 a week. That's $480 a month in just Domino's. And she's getting McDonald's. She's getting a Starbucks coffee on top of that, right? So by reframing the price and showing them that it's smaller, we're educating them and bringing it down. Now, usually I'll push on education twice. If that doesn't work, now we'll go into motivating. They might say, yeah, but still, I just don't know. I just don't know. And by the way, whenever someone says, I just don't know, that's an emotional objection. This is where I'm going to pivot. My talk track for this would be something along the lines of this. Bill, I completely understand. Do you remember that, though, when we discussed why you want to lose weight, you mentioned how you couldn't play with your kids in the playground anymore because your knees hurt too bad and that you run out of breath? What happens if nothing changes and that continues? You see, here's the thing. I am not a motivational speaker per se, not yet at least. And I am not a therapist. I'm not going to be able to take whatever fear they have and just completely eliminate it in a 20-minute call. Okay? There's people who spend their whole lives in therapy that still have trauma that they haven't overcome. Right? So what I need to do is, instead of trying to get rid of the fear, I need to use their fear to my advantage. And I need to show them something else that they'd be more afraid of. What should Bill be more afraid of? The $416 a month price, or the potential of missing that precious time you have with your kids that you'd only get for so many years, right? And Alex, you can testify to this because you're a father like me. Your kids grow up fast. They grow up fast. So what should he really be afraid of? Do you see in this process how we're serving Bill? Do you see what's happening here? We've got to remind him of that. So by presenting a fear that is far greater than this fear, that's how we tackle it. What happens if nothing continues? Well, I won't be able to play with my kids. I might die early of a heart attack. These things, my knee pain isn't going to go away. Now, here's the thing. We can't just leave them in fear, right? We have to bring them up into hope. We have to bring them back to the solution. So I want to be ready. And what I want to do is I want to bring them back to education. It's the education step. because that's the best step to close people. Because people buy emotionally, but they justify logically, right? And education is where we can get them to justify logically. And that's going to help us improve the sale. So I'm going to ask the question, listen, Bill, I understand $416 is a lot for you monthly. When we discussed why you want to lose weight, you mentioned how you couldn't play with your kids because of your knee pain and because you were losing energy. What happens if nothing changes? And then he'll say something like, he'll list those reasons. Bill, we've helped 7,000 people lose 100 pounds. You'll remember the testimonial we gave in our pitch about the lady who lost 100 pounds in the 6-month period and was able to go to a wedding and whatnot. So really, Bill, the choice is not about the 416. The choice is, are you going to be one of the 7,000 who made that change? Or are you going to be one of the millions of Americans who constantly allow themselves to live in a lifestyle that is not helpful for their health? Do you want to be that guy, or do you want to be one of the 7,000 for your kids? That's bringing him from a place of fear that we've introduced to now a place of hope. Now Bill can see there's a path forward for him, because if others have done it that are like me, then I can do it. They have to believe that they can be successful, but they have to believe that they can be successful with you. They have to believe they can be successful, and they have to know that they need you to do it. Okay? But that still may not work, right? They still may say, listen, you're right. I need to make a change. I need to make a change. You're right. I need to make a change, but still that 416 price, it's just too much money. I just can't afford it. This is where I'm now going to pivot into negotiating. Okay. Bill, tell you what, the most crucial element of this offer is the coaching and the nutrition plan. Okay. While the supplements are important, I don't want to leave you where you are right now. Okay, so I'm going to take the supplements off. Instead of it being $2,500, it's now $1,900. Does that help you? We're going to lower your plan. Okay. So whenever I'm negotiating, and again, I'm not some Chris Voss hostage negotiating expert, but one principle that's true, and this is something that Shelby Sapp says that I really appreciate about her. If you're going to lower the price, you have to justify it somehow. Do you understand? If you just lower the price, you're going to devalue your product. All right? You're going to devalue your product. But if I take something away, well, one, it might change his mind. He might come back. He might surprise you and say, no, I want the supplements. Bill, we can take the supplements out. We can lower this to $1,900. Now, it'll take you a little bit longer to lose that 100 pounds, but I'd rather have you in the program and have you get the education and the training and the nutrition plan, because that will still help. It might, instead of 6 months, it might take 9 months to 10 months. Does that sound like a solution? Bill might either say, no, you know what? I want to do the whole thing because I do want to get this done in 6 months, right? Or he might say, yeah, sure, that's helpful. I can lower the payment. We can lower the payment. I can afford that now. Right? So that's kind of the framework and example. I know that's a long example, but I wanted to give you guys a visual of what it looks like with a certain thing, right? Before I continue, does anybody have any questions?
No questions for me.
Okay. So this gets to kind of the third part, right? And the third part is you got to know when to walk away. If I have done a good job in discovery, I've done a good job in pitching, I've asked for the sale, they've given me objections, I've taken them through the program, I've isolated it, I know this is the real objection, I've tried to give him the education that he needs, I've tried to motivate him, I've tried to negotiate with him, and nothing is working, it is time to move on. Not every deal is winnable. If there was a framework that could give you 100% close rate, if you found that, please send it to me. I will go into $1 million. I will take every bank loan I can get. I will take every credit card I get to pay for that. Because you would be a billionaire if you could if there was some magical script that can give you 100% close rate. It does not exist. Not every sale is winnable at every single facet of the game. And you have to have that knowledge to know that at this point, you now need to remove yourself from the conversation. But remove yourself from the conversation with an open door. So this is kind of how I would do it. Bill, it does sound like you have a lot to think of. It sounds like you're unsure about where you want to go with this. You know that losing weight is a priority, but saving money is also a priority for you. Can we do this? Can we set up a follow-up call? I'll give you the time you need to think about it. Can we set up a follow-up call for 2 days? Right? Because I want to be able to follow up with him. I want to have an opportunity to follow up with him. I want to have an open door to get a second shot. But I need to remove myself from this conversation because any more time, I've already banked in 30 minutes, 40 minutes at this point, and I have to get out of it so I can go talk to someone else. I can do more prospecting. I can do other things, right? But I don't want to shut the door because, again, follow-up is important. Bill is on the fence right now. Bill knows he needs to make a change. We have just taken him through all of these steps. He knows the issue. It's whether or not he's going to pull the trigger or not. And it's a hard thing. Selling fitness is hard because you're not selling them something pleasurable. You're selling them a diet plan and exercise. They're going to have to miss out on their favorite foods. They're going to have to do some exercise. They're going to have to wake up early in the morning or stay up later. This is not an easy decision to make, right? But I can't continue to bank any more of my time on this call. I need to get out of it. But again, I want to retreat, not give up. I don't want to give up on Bill. I don't want to give up on myself. So I will schedule a follow-up at 15 minutes for him to let me know that I'm ready, just so that way we can talk. Schedule it for only like 5 or 10 minutes, though. Don't schedule for much longer. You already invested so much time into this. And odds are that if he really doesn't want to move forward, he's just going to send you a text and say, I'm actually, this isn't for me right now, or something like that. And that's okay. You can put them in your follow-up Rolodex of people that you can follow up with on a weekly basis through text message. I would say something like, hey, Bill, I totally understand. Can I ask you one thing? Can we just keep the communication line open? Can I text you occasionally to check in on you to see how you're doing? And he's going to say, sure. And now you have him in your CRM. You have him as an aged lead. You never want to give up a lead. Okay? So in summary, here's what we've spoken about. Objections aren't something to fear. When you approach objections from the standard of, I have something to give, I am going to serve this prospect, you don't have anything to fear. All objections can be handled in a 4-step process. Isolate, educate, motivate, negotiate. Say that to yourself. Say, isolate, educate, motivate, negotiate. And then lastly, know when to walk away.